Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Code Remix Weekly. I'm Sam, he's Tim, and we're here to talk about code and other stuff and remixes of code and fun topics like that. How you doing today, Tim?
Doing well, doing well. Yeah. It's been
Excellent.
a bit of a mixture of a long day with doing a dedicated training and a lot of
Yeah.
reviews and fixes left and right. So yeah,
Uh,
pretty good.
the dedicated training being the spring training, or were you in a different one?
I was in a different one. It was
What training
slightly
did you give
overlapping.
today?
I gave an in-house training for one of our customers. So,
Covering using open rewrite recipes and migrations and modern tools and
yep,
all that good stuff. Cool,
yep.
cool.
So it's
How many of
it's
those
an
classes do you think you've taught at this point?
I'm gonna say if we include like the monthly ones, I want to say at least 50, like
Yeah,
probably more, and then
yeah.
all of them an hour long at least, sometimes two, three, four. It's like
Adds up. It adds up. Yeah, you've at some point you should get to be like a professor or something, like a professor of open rewrite. What do you think? That is, Doctor to Beak sound.
I'm actually in my friend group. I'm one like we have a group of seven.
Uh
Five
huh.
of them are actually doctors, and I'm the
Ah.
only one who's not, and I'm quite happy not to be.
Oh, so you don't want a PhD? You're like, I'm cooler than these nerds. I'm out here teaching people software engineering, not whatever hoity-toity academic things they're talking about.
Well, at the time, like it did when I worked in academia, I did ask, "Is that something that you would want to be doing?" And I thought I wouldn't want to commit myself to something for 4 years, and
Hmm.
here we are, having committed myself to something for 4 years, and yeah,
That
it's
is the
like
trick. Whether or not you commit yourself, the 4 years will pass, and then at the end, do you want to be Doctor Tabik or not? Not to convince
yeah,
you to go
yeah.
back to academia. I'm just saying we should find a way to get you an honorary doctorate in software refactoring or something.
I have no idea. We might need to start one, but yeah, I'd love to be the first open rewrite champion in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, you basically were the first open rewrite champion. When the company was like 5 people, we were like, who's this guy giving presentations on open rewrite? And he's like, and he knows what he's talking about, and we haven't talked to him. Who's this guy?
I
So yeah,
just
that's
I
that's
just
that's your.
thought this should be a lot bigger, and I'm glad to
You
say
were
that
right.
yeah, getting there, getting there.
Getting there, one step at a time, one step at a time. What news do we have for the people this week, Tim?
So we have a couple updates. Most importantly, of course, we did our new release yesterday. So let me try to get that shared with you all. So biggest item on the list is probably the addition of Python to Open Rewrite. So if you're
Ooh,
curious about that, then you can now go to the Open Rewrite/Rewrite repository, see that we have a Python parser, and pretty soon you'll start to see trickle in recipes dedicated to Python, and then from there, of course, yeah, be interesting to see how that evolves because it's been much requested, and now finally having landed it and released it is a nice milestone.
nice.
Yeah. And then apart from that, we saw some community contributions as well. So for the folks on Java 9 Plus, which of course we're envious of, you can now migrate towards the system logger. So that's going to be interesting for folks that just want to have a very lightweight option for there. Myself, I added support for var args in Java template. So if you want to be matching methods containing variable arguments, then you can do so, and you can leverage that as well if you use remastered recipes that we have. And then yeah, many more. There was a very long list of I think 150 issues closed over the past release. So yeah, just glad to see that all land and be able to share that with you all. Now, if you
Nice.
want to see the full details, of course, can go to our docs. I'll share the link in the chat just now, and you can see all the new recipes that we have. Currently have 5,184. I spoke to a colleague of ours who's planning to add 1,000 more over the next couple of days. So should be interesting to see where that number gets tomorrow and the days after. Now, if you're the reading type, we also have 2 new blogs out. The first one is a write-up on a webinar that we did. So that's available for you all on the Moderne blog. So yeah, go check it out if you haven't watched it yet, or if you want to read up again on all that was mentioned. And then separately, we also have a write-up on our Spring Boot for upgrade recommendations there. And of course, just this afternoon, we did a session on upgrading to Spring Boot 4. So if you were present there and now curious to hear what else is new, then stay tuned and we'll tell you all. Now looking slightly ahead, we have JFocus coming up in just 1.5 weeks. I'll be in Stockholm. I'll be presenting my workshop in the morning and the afternoon, most likely. And then 1 or 2 days later, Merlin's going to present on Java 25. So yeah, if you're in the area, definitely check it out there. There's a couple other events coming up in February, but we'll tell you about those as they come in. And then, of course, if you want to learn more about recipe authoring, then the next session is going to be February 10th. So if you're interested in that, then 3 weeks from now, you should be able to join a new session of fundamentals and open recipe authoring. So.
And then after that, we'll have the upcoming teaching AI to write better open rewrite recipes for those of you with your Claude subscriptions or your Geminis or what have you. This class will cover how to most productively encourage your assistants to produce useful recipes and how to review their work for correctness and performance and all those good things that you still need something of a human in the loop for. And I believe teaching that class will be Mr. Bryan Friedman, who we will now welcome to the program. Bryan, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. So you were the one who's going to teach that AI class, right? Or am I teaching that? Is Tim teaching that?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Tim. I'll be there. I'll be there. But
we'll probably
I'm
all
looking
be
forward
there,
to
right?
learning myself. Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah.
I got the very telling question yesterday, like who on your team is most familiar with AI recipe authorship? And I thought, well, at the risk of volunteering for something, I think it's me.
Yeah, I feel like that question was a trap, Tim, and he fell right into it.
So
not a bad trap. Yeah. But just another credit hour towards your honorary PhD in open rewrite.
That's right.
And Bryan, you just gave the training on the Spring migration. How did that go?
That was a good session. Yeah, we talked about kind of all of the ways to prepare and to use Moderne platform and open rewrite to get your migrations to Spring Boot. It's not just click a button. There's lots of things that you have to do. One of which is actually kind of jives with our conversation today, because it's a lot about sort of getting, planning, searching for code, getting some insight into the code that's out there.
Knowing your current status so that you can measure the leap you're about to take for the appropriate distance.
That's right. Yeah, and kind of find potential landmines that you have to deal with too.
What are some of the landmines?
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of the course from this morning, we talked about sort of dependency, the dependency sequencing. So like, hey, if you just run the upgrade against everything, but it depends on something that's getting upgraded at the same time. So, we did a lot of sort of code analysis around what depends on what and what sequence should we be upgrading this in and all that kind of stuff. And then also just, where are we? What versions of Spring do we have across all the code? And can we sort of baseline it to one version first? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, we've definitely seen people have a lot of success migrating huge numbers of repositories by trying to horizontally raise the baseline of everything one step at a time. Get everything, okay, some repositories are on Java 21, some are on Java 8. Let's get the baseline to 11. And then it's like, okay, well, some, the versions of Gradle and Maven are mixed. Let's get the baseline of Gradle to one that will be ready for the next jump. Mm-hmm. And it's, I think if you're migrating just one repository, you could take the big 5,000 step migration recipe and just hit go and see what you get. And if you're migrating 10,000 repositories, maybe that kind of depth first approach will not take you as far as quickly as something more breadth first. Because the nice thing about going breadth first on that is that, your own internal modules have dependencies on each other. And so if you raise everybody to Java 11 or everybody to Java 17, then you're not like worrying about suddenly at runtime, you've got like a Java 8 runtime trying to run a Java 17 class file and dying, right? And so you can kind of just avoid some of those pitfalls of having things at various stages of the migration trying to coexist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good stuff. So everyone who didn't already attend that training has totally missed it, and there's no hope of migrating Spring successfully, probably ever. So very unfortunate for all of you who weren't there this morning. But we done told you. We told you last week and the week before that the spring training was coming up. So if you are now forever stuck on Spring Boot 2 or 1 or whatever, sorry, you had your chance.
Yeah.
Or ask one of the 300 or so folks who signed up. So then maybe they'll know. They can help you.
Yeah, they'll know. They'll know. There were a lot of attendees, so there might already be someone at your organization who attended that class and could share the valuable knowledge pearls that Bryan was dispensing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it actually,
go ahead.
It actually will be made available for folks if they want to actually come. View it after the fact.
Okay, all right. I scared you for nothing. You'll get to. We're gonna post a recording.
I don't want
YouTube,
people to. I don't actually know if it'll. I don't think it'll be a YouTube video, but we'll make it available.
We'll have it somewhere.
On the Training Hub. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good. Okay, fine. I take it back. You guys might be able to successfully upgrade the latest version of Spring eventually, even if you missed Bryan's class. You got lucky this time. Don't count on it next time.
That's right. You can never count on it.
Yeah. You never count on it. Yeah, Bryan did this out of the goodness of his heart, and obviously it was his literal job to do so, but mostly the goodness of the heart. Which brings us to today's subject. Out of the goodness of his heart, Bryan is here to talk to you about how to do productive source code search and how to do better than Control F in your IDE. Not if there's anything wrong with Control F in your IDE, but there's some tasks that call for a little bit more. And I remember, it must have been a decade ago or so at this point when I was working at Tableau Software. Some developer had set up an open source code search tool called OpenGrok, which was. It could kind of sort of like take you to jump to a class definition across repositories. Like sometimes it worked, but it would also get confused about some things that just incidentally had similar names without actually being the same, symbol or type. And so it was a sight better than nothing, but there's lots of a little bit of frustration and noise that came with that. So Bryan, how do we do better? How can we do better on source code search than that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned one of the key pitfalls of sort of the regular text search or IDE, searching in the IDE is that sometimes you're going to find stuff that you're not actually looking for because something might be named the same. You might have two different logger classes or two different, whatever, and so you're going to get some false positives. You're going to find some stuff you may not be looking for. And on the flip side, you might not find some things that you are looking for because it might be buried within types. Some things,
if there was a protected field on the superclass, right, you might be referencing it without anywhere in the current source file actually listing the type of that field.
That's right. Yeah. So both of those scenarios can happen. And I think you alluded to, within the IDE, the IDE has a lot of information about your code. It actually does know that information, and you might be able to find it within there. But that's only for one. That's only going to be for the repo that's open, right? So what happens if you want to sort of understand across many repositories where that impact might be?
Surely, Bryan, I can just ask my LLM agent to look through the many millions of lines of code and tell me, right?
I'm sure it would come back very quickly with the answer. Well, I mean,
come back with something.
It's going to come back,
price as well.
Yeah, at a reasonable price.
That's right.
What's the going rate for 20 million tokens?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Lots of repos. You're gonna hit some context limits at some point, I would imagine. But thankfully, we have this amazing tool called Open Rewrite that knows a lot of stuff about your code and can help you find things.
Wow, cool. It's weird that I haven't heard of this before. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
right. So there's a lot of the open rewrite recipes that are out there are, search recipes. We talk a lot about transformation and how we can, do migrations and stuff, but also there's a lot of value just in running a recipe and getting back some data about where, what like we were talking about, what versions things are on, where specific, uses of methods or types or, whatever you might be looking for are. So
Whenever, often as a maintainer of a library, I might be like, is anyone gonna care if I delete this
right,
method? Does
exactly.
anyone actually use this? I don't like how this part of the API was designed. What if I just change the parameters that accepts a little bit? Is it gonna bother anybody? And
Right.
sometimes rolled the dice on that in the past, and sometimes you get away with it, and sometimes there's an angry stream of coworkers or maybe commenters on Twitter or Blue Sky making their displeasure known.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah, I
the
mean,
type of
it's like,
thing I've known you to do just before bedtime, and then like it falls to Europe to do the immediate fallout of all the questions in Slack. And
yeah,
I have no idea what you're talking about, Tim, but
yeah, no, I mean that's exactly the kind of stuff that we hear from development teams is like, where am I using this API? If I change this thing, what's going to break downstream or upstream or wherever.
I've heard that this library has a new high-profile security vulnerability. Do we use that library anywhere in
Right.
our 20,000 repos?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly, that kind of stuff. And you're not going to be able to find that, even if you had text search across all those repositories, you're not going to be able to get that kind of information quickly.
or you might get it, but buried in an avalanche of irrelevant results of things that are
Correct.
incidentally
Right.
named similarly, as we talked about, like logger, right? How many
Right,
hits of that
exactly.
are you going to get? Yeah,
Right. Yeah. And what are you going to miss?
what are you going to miss? So, do you have any demos for us, Brian? You have an example search to show us?
Yeah, we can do that. I like every good cooking demonstration show, I've already run many search recipes, so we can just pull them right out of the oven, and
Nice,
share them with
nice.
you. So we don't have to wait for them to run or anything. So
I do so enjoy it in a cooking show when they do all of the prep and then are like, and here's the product that after I bake it for 4 hours. That's
right,
it's the
exactly.
kind of bait and switch that is so respectful of my time I can't possibly be mad at it.
Right. That is what's great. Okay. So here's a bunch of find recipes that we've already run. I think we'll start with everyone's favorite search recipe. Perhaps, I don't know, you both would know better, but this is probably one of the most used search recipes that
It's pretty
that's out
handy,
there.
pretty fundamental. It's like, it was maybe one of the first search recipes we had. Where that type at?
Right, exactly. So I did a search for org Apache Commons lang 3 string utils. There's lots of string utils out there, though. So this is an example of something that you might end up with a lot of false positives on if you're not looking for this exact type.
If you search for the text string utils and the open rewrite code base, you would find hits that were not this. And
there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you go into Apache Maven, they have 4 different string utils classes from various. We should pull this out into a separate library, and we should fork that library. Oh, and now it's Commons lang 3.
Right.
The famous XKCD comic about, oh no, there are 14 standards. I'll make a new standard to unify them all. Now there are 15 standards. Comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a perfect example of the kind of thing you can search for. And I think a lot of times we think about, sort of showing the diffs in here. You can see what's getting removed or what's getting added, what's getting changed. But here we've got this interface that's very nice because it just sort of highlights the...
Did we lose Brian?
we either lost him or he's doing a very good impression of being perfectly still. Perhaps a predator rolled up outside his window, and this is just a matter of survival since its motion is based on vision. I don't know if there are wild lions and tigers where Bryan is, but I'm just going to assume that he's being stalked by an entire herd of lions. I'm sure herd is the appropriate term for that too.
Pride, I think.
Yeah, it's a pride of lions, but I don't think there's prides of lions where he is, unless there's been a breakout at the local zoo. I don't know. Well, hopefully Bryan will be back and not entirely mauled by lions when we see him. He's tough. I'm sure he'll be okay.
So it is safe to say he was working from the Apache org. So we can focus in and then can continue off from where he was.
Yeah, I thought I think he was. I saw he was in like the open source org. Yeah, we should be able to find those recipe runs.
Or Apache, like there.
Hey, he's back, and he wasn't even mauled by lions. Oh, can't hear you. Is your microphone on? The video's working. Just do sign language for all of your communication. I don't know sign language. We'll figure something out. Oh, hey, we can hear you now. That's good.
Okay, cool. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened there. I guess I was that search was just too much for my machine to handle. So let me share again.
Thank you, Kevin, for humoring me. You probably didn't hear, Bryan, while you were gone. Your video was totally frozen in a single frame as it was, and I hypothesized that you were just being very still because there were dangerous predators nearby. So I'm glad that you weren't mauled by lions.
That's good. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm sure that the frozen image was me with a perfectly good face that did not look ridiculous at all. So
honestly, not bad. You take a random frame of someone talking, and somehow it's usually like a little bit bug-eyed and mouth in a weird position. But you honestly look very handsome. You did just fine for the freeze frame.
That's great. All right, so I was talking about the sort of interface for showing the search results here in the platform and how it is nicely highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to point out about these results in this web UI is that you can click on the line numbers to jump straight to like the source file in GitHub or whatever the source control is. So that can be very, very convenient. Because often you want to go from a search result to something adjacent to it within the code.
Yeah,
and that could be very convenient.
Good tip. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And we now have a data table of all search results, right?
Oh, that's right. Yes, I was going to go. That was next. So we've got this type uses table, and so that's actually going to. So I'll have to share that window as well, right?
If you feel like it.
Yeah,
it would probably make for a better presentation if you did.
Yep.
But I can't make you share that window, Bryan. This is up to you.
Actually, well, I guess that's fair. I was going to say you can, but I guess
maybe just for demo purposes, we can build a table viewer in here.
Oh, that would be kind of cool. We do have.
I've thought about that before. Yeah, it'd be nice.
We do have a visualization for visualizing spreadsheets. It's not. It's like it's set up for specific data tables, but we probably could for just like have a preview button here. And that would be pretty nice. Maybe I'll mention that to the UI team. That'd be good.
And it'd be fine if it only showed like the first 5 rows and the columns. And
after you want just like a little preview, what's in there?
Like what's the structure of this data?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, so let me see if I can share this. So I stop this guy. Share. Excel. Yeah, so we've got, like any data table, you've got the repository information here, right? But if we scroll over, we're also going to see, the code, the source file that it's in, and the actual fully qualified name.
Which, since you can use, wildcards and such in the in this recipe, and in most similar recipes, it's not guaranteed that the concrete type would be the exact same fully qualified name the entire way down, if that isn't
Right.
you were searching for.
Exactly. So,
And
but
in
this
the
is pretty
code
nice
column,
because
you might have a more complex expression that resolved to that type rather than just the symbol in this case. So these
right.
results are a little uniform, but it's not guaranteed that that would always be the case.
Right. Yeah. Not the most interesting example of a data table in this case, but
a comprehensible one, clear,
that's
easy to
right.
understand.
That's right. Very true. But I mean, you can see how that could be nice because I imagine that multiple developers are probably doing similar searches all the time. And so with something like this, you could sort of share the data and it becomes more of a collaborative, collaborative exercise as opposed to a solo one.
Yeah, we had one customer who built automatic break and change detection, more or less based on this recipe. Every PR that would come in, they would have their CI system run a tool called Rev API to check for breaking changes to public, method signatures, and then they would use the API of the Moderne SaaS to kick off a recipe run that would go and attach back to the code review as a comment, like, hey, you're going to break these 5 repositories in these 10 places with links directly to what would be broken for even less plausible deniability for those late night check-ins that break Europe.
Yeah, great example.
Yeah, so you could do some you can use this as a cog in a bigger machine, as well as handling your kind of ad hoc searches. All right. Well, find types is cool and useful. What else we got?
Yeah, so I'm going to jump into the find sensitive API endpoints. This is kind of a good example of that case where we were talking about earlier, where things can be kind of buried deeper than you would normally be able to find with text, say. So this is a recipe that looks for potentially sensitive data within API calls. So like if we didn't want somebody to know the names of people, or maybe we don't want to let their emails out, right? This kind of thing. Then we can sort of add those field names and run the recipe and go right into the oven and take it out. And so this is an example where you don't see the word the first name or last name on any of these results, but if you if you were to mouse over this, you can see, right, this type is using get last name, get first name, get email. This stuff is buried within that type. So that's pretty powerful to be able to search an entire code base for something like that at that level. And just like before, the data table, there's a data table for that as well.
Yeah, and I don't think we have a demo of this already set up, but if you wanted to run something like this on an ongoing basis to detect new instances of sensitive API endpoints being set up, you could set up a precondition on this recipe, and preconditions are often used to narrow a search or narrow a change down, and you could use it like find source files as a precondition with a negation to be like, I'm not interested in results in these specific source files. I've already looked at those and reviewed those and approved them, so that when you run that search, you would hopefully be getting back 0 results. And if you got back if you got back anything, it would be like, oh, this is new. This is a new API that exposes this information. Maybe we need to review that or put that through some kind of process. That's a challenge with best practices, is that, like unto Sisyphus rolling a boulder to the top of the hill, you get the boulder to the top, and like, we've eliminated the bad practice. The good practice is in use in 100% of cases. Then all it takes is one new developer on the team who hasn't learned every single coding standard or their LLM to reintroduce a new one the very next day.
Yep. So that's the sensitive API endpoints one. I think that's a good example of that. I guess let's go to one that has some visualizations that we can look at.
Love a good visualization.
Yeah, right. So this is the dependency insight recipe. which also I imagine is another pretty common one that we
Oh
see
yeah,
run. Yeah,
for sure.
So in this case, I searched for the commons lang 3 specifically. You could do wildcards here and search for multiple different packages.
But
it's
in the second search result that it's pointing out, common
oh yeah,
CSV.
so there you go. I did
commons
do a
lang 3.
wildcard search. Look at that.
Well, I don't think you actually. I don't know if you did a wildcard search here. Maybe you did. We could look at the arguments. But
if you click on it,
click
on
the
the second
result.
result.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe you did do a wildcard. Let's look at the arguments you did. Why don't you hit the replay button on this real quick? Because I was thinking this might be a transitive dependency. Yeah, hit that button, and I just want to see. Or I guess we could look at just expand the options on under the results tab on the left. A little higher.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you search for anything commons. So you could. This is a good example of doing a wildcard search. So you can see everything that's in use under that commons namespace. It'll also, whenever it's between dependency insight and the similarly named, I think it's just like find dependency, is that this will highlight transitive dependencies as well. So it could highlight this other dependency is bringing commons lang 3 onto your class path, which can be very relevant for runtime or security issues that, we don't use this vulnerable library directly, but we use a library that uses it. Maybe that's a problem. Or, why am I getting serialization errors about a new version of Jackson? I didn't think I was depending upon that version of Jackson, etc.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And the transitive dependency piece is another reason why having this, deep knowledge of the code, it's really important. So, I think I teased a visualization. So let's go look at the visualization.
Let's.
So this is the dependency usage violin chart. It gives us sort of a visual representation of sort of what the distribution of occurrences for this particular set of dependencies.
Very good.
This one I did not pre-run, so we'll have to just watch this spinning circle for a moment. Well, that's there we go.
Cool. There it is.
All right. So this one, wow, there's quite a distribution here, right?
This is a broad distribution, and what you're kind of seeing here, and you kind of see why it's called a box jellyfish plot. Several of these look like they would get you into trouble if you ran into them in the waters off the coast of Australia. But this is kind of what you see. This huge spread of versions is kind of showing you that the repositories we're looking at don't have that much relationship to each other, right? If you're looking at a set of repositories that are all built and shipped together, they're probably, I would hope, using a narrower range of versions than this, because through conflict resolution, you tend to have one repository in a newer version that kind of brings up everything that depends upon that repository to that newer version. But if you have totally unrelated repositories that are made all across time, they have a bunch of wholly unrelated versions of this dependency. So if these repositories were all related, I'd be like, what is going on here? How do you guys have such a huge spread of versions? How is this this would be causing you errors at runtime, right? If all of these things were going onto one class path, well, only one can win, and you're probably getting method not found, class not found errors, etc.
Yeah, and there's also, because of the wildcard, you can see there's a lot of,
yes,
a lot of commons. Yeah,
there's a lot of commons. It turns out.
A lot of commons. That's right. So that's the dependency. There's a lot of dependency related search recipes out there, right? That's one of them. But we've got the just sort of find dependencies recipe, which is sort of in a similar vein.
Mm-hmm. And this is limited to direct dependencies. So if you wanted to exclude transitives, and we're looking specifically for where these dependencies are declared across your code base,
specifically, right? Yeah, this
might be there. I tend to find personally, I'm reaching for dependency insight.
You want this one more, yeah.
95% of the time, I'm struggling to think of the last time that I'm like, I don't want the transitives. I just want the direct dependencies.
Yeah.
So
Right.
most of the time, I think dependency inset is probably what you want, but maybe you've got different dependency search scenarios than I do. So, let me know in the Open Rewrite community Slack if you're using find dependency all the time, because I'm curious what you're using it for.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the difference. That's a good distinction. I guess we can move on to the find secrets recipe, which is kind of a nice collection of a whole bunch of recipes searching for various secrets in various forms. So if your security team is interested who's hard coding secrets into the code base somewhere, this is a good one to take a look at. So whether it's within a URL, and again it's going to show you what it is. So this is password in a URL versus I think I've seen other various forms in here.
And here's another situation where you might want to exclude tests. Like we're mostly seeing that results within tests, which is fine. Probably you're not putting your production credentials in tests. Right. Maybe you do want to double check that real quick. But like whatever key you have in SSL util test is, I hope, not your production, keys. Right. So this is a case where if you had looked through all of these and been like, okay, like cool, there's some URLs with username, password, and a test, and that's okay. Maybe we do have a precondition to limit results to just the main source set, so that you could focus only on production code.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's like a likely test or find tests or something that can be included.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's go find that one actually.
Yeah, let me.
It's like a heat test.
So we can add a precondition here, right?
So I think what you want, the precondition you'll want if we want to avoid results in tests, is find files that are likely not tests. Or if we wanted to limit it specifically to tests. So that search bar, hit the add button.
Yeah. You got to do that. That's what I meant to do. Find what was
files that are likely not tests is the way to limit to non-test sources. And the phrasing there is a bit of a heuristic. Yeah, that's the one. And let's check that add as precondition. Sorry, I didn't need to narrate that. You were going to do that anyway.
That's okay. Yeah, it's all right. It's good to narrate.
Falling back to my first job was phone tech support, and we didn't have screen shares because they were just calling over the phone and would ask how to configure their Microsoft Outlook to be able to send their emails. And so at one point I was pretty good at imagining the menu layouts of Microsoft Outlook of various versions. Anyway, just very much got in the habit of narrating like every single thing someone should do. So if I'm backseat driving you too much, Bryan, I am sorry, but I won't stop. It's completely habitual.
It's all good. I can use it sometimes. So yeah, something like this basically, right?
Yeah. Let's run that, and we should get a lot less results because all of those results we were getting before were in test files, at least all the ones that we happen to glance at. But that's another thing that preconditions are nice for. Of like, there were so many results that were in tests that if there had been one that was in the main source code, probably wouldn't have noticed it. Oh man. We found out that in Apache Accumulo Fluo Muchos that there's an admin credential. Never would have guessed that one. Real sensitive passwords leaked out there.
So there are a few here.
Just a couple. And the comment says example for an encoded username or password. So this probably isn't something super sensitive that is being leaked here. But you see how adding that precondition, like, boom, cut away a ton of noise in our results, and really focused us in on things that are at least likely to be going out in production code in some capacity.
Yep. And like these two, even example and test. So yeah, that's a good example of using preconditions in addition to the find recipes, and I imagine it's usually a find recipe that you're including as a precondition, right? I mean, that's
often, yeah, and you could use find recipe. You can layer these things together. You could be like,
right,
use find secrets as a precondition to be like in files where there is a secret. Is there also, I don't know, some library in use? Is there something on the class path? Is there a particular code pattern that might be bad?
right.
Yeah, these things could all be composed together.
Absolutely. So I don't know. What's another good one we can show? I think there's the software bill of materials is kind of an interesting example as well. So for this one, it's actually adding files to your to repository.
This is both kind of a search recipe as well as something that produces changes,
right?
And that some companies or tools will ask for a software bill of materials, which is basically an XML document, not entirely unlike a Maven POM, although it isn't a Maven POM, as you can see, which just lists all of the dependencies and where they come in, so that you could feed this into some other tool to check for vulnerabilities or to make some kind of map of components of your code base. Honestly, if you've got Moderne and recipes, it's kind of like, this is what you provide to tools that don't have a rich dependency model of their own, so that they have some idea of what's going on with your dependencies. So this is potentially a point of integration between, your use of Open Rewrite and your use of, I don't know, Backstage or some other scanner, or maybe just a governance or compliance requirement that you produce SBOMs of your artifacts to show the government or your partners or whoever that you have the dependencies you say you have. So this can save you a lot of labor.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the kind of thing I know, like security teams and organizations, maybe the development team is perfectly content using recipes to find things, but the security team maybe has some tool that they require this, and everybody's got to do it. So it kind of keeps it easy.
Yeah.
For those teams.
Or for compliance purposes, you just got to upload one of these alongside every release you do. Yeah.
Right. Something like that. Yep. So that's another one. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's, it's a search recipe, but like we said, it's searching in order to get all this information, but it's outputting it in a different way, as opposed to sort of highlighting. It's just sort of dumping it all as a file.
Yeah, and that's a behavior of scanning recipes, which is covered in the advanced Open Rewrite training. So if you would like to know how to create a recipe that produces new files, we cover that in the advanced training.
We've got one in March.
Got one in March.
Yeah, got it coming up. Other one I was going to show, we were talking earlier about sort of preparing for migrations or preparing for, upgrades.
Yes.
We've got a couple of examples of that, actually. There's the find uses of deprecated classes, methods, fields. So this is going to show you things that are deprecated already. Right, so that you can maybe look first, but this can give you information about what you might want to be looking for. We were talking about those landmines earlier. These are going to be those. These are going to be an example of those as you're upgrading things, right?
Yeah, and this is something you can do either right before a migration or right after a migration.
Right.
Just to find if you do it just before a migration, that those are the things that are going to break. If you do it right after a migration, you know where there might be gaps of things not yet migrated, and they work for now, but they're going to be those landmines for your next migration.
Yeah. And I think, Tim, I saw you kick off another one that's good for that.
This is one on the theme of, so let's click on any of the green ones on the left. There's some problems with, and this one is going to look for dependencies that have relocated. So there's a source of dependencies where not just the version has changed, but also the group ID or the artifact ID has changed. So a very common example of that is like the servlet API, or in this case, Left4j, where you not only
Java exit to Jakarta.
you might be on the latest version, but that's on the latest version of that range, whereas you should be switching to a different one. So this is another form of search, but also then cross-correlated with a data source that we know to help you further uncover the things that you probably want to change. So it's another neat way of using search to find this, because you'd be lucky if any other tool would call this out, because like I said, you're using the latest version. It's just not the one that you want to be using.
Yeah, that's pretty handy. Although the debugger in me is drawn to look at what these errors are and figure out what's going on with this recipe. This is a pretty new recipe, right? Did you just make this, Tim?
No, this is I added this 2 years ago, I think. But it's
Okay.
it is of course only going to give you hints on projects that are by themselves already quite outdated, because no one ever
Right.
thought to update that dependency that was renamed.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, well, we could analyze the failures. Maybe not something for this. particular problem.
Doesn't feel super urgent to you. Fair enough. It's a good idea though, because if you just look through a POM and you don't have in your head a comprehensive list of all of the dependencies that have changed their coordinates or been deprecated and totally replaced by a fork or successor, that you could look at it and not see it.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for highlighting that one as well. I mean, there's several other ones I think that are sort of in the same vein as find types. There's like find annotations, find fields, there's also find method declaration, find method calls. Like this is the find method usages, right? So this is going to be, where are we using
Yeah, this is
any
this is
method
one
within this work. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one I will use a lot when considering changing something, or when asking, how does this thing work, right? I'm using a library that I'm not super familiar with. I'd like to see some examples of it used in context in a real code base. Might use this to go out and find where the method's called. Like, how do I set up the objects that are going to go into this thing? What is it expecting? What is typically done with its outputs? This method search can be quite helpful for figuring out what I'm going to break or figuring out how to use the thing in the first place.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this one is we also have it available if you use the Moderne IntelliJ plugin. So you can right click on a method and say, well, find me usages elsewhere. Like, I know I need this method. I have no idea how to use it. Please find me some examples, and it will stream them into your IDE.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, Tim, because I was mentioning earlier how with an IDE you're only looking in one repository, but with that plugin, it sort of unlocks access to everywhere else.
Multi-repo search.
Oh, multi-repo, exactly. So that's a good example too.
Now that we're all using LLMs and coding assistants, that could be great context for that, right? If you are trying to use a method or trying to understand something or trying to refactor something with an LLM, that list of search results across repositories could be valuable context for that.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. So that's the greatest hits, I guess, the highlights at least of code search with Moderne. But there's plenty more recipes, I'm sure, to be explored. But I think we've talked about sort of some of the important or most common use cases. You want to understand impact before you're making changes. You might want to do it for security or compliance, visibility. But you can imagine there's many other uses that come up across teams. It might even just be a discovery for onboarding developers, letting them explore. There might be an architecture team that's looking for like consistent patterns to be used a specific way, right? So lots of applications.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not uncommon that when I am talking with a software engineer at just any company, that like some basic questions about like how many repositories do you have, or like how many lines of code, or like what's the distribution of languages, in use, they're like, oh man, I don't really know. I kind of know what my team does, but oof, yeah. And that's fine if it's not your responsibility to go make major changes or guarantee consistency across all those things. But if you do have to do that, you might need to know for sure at some point.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
We've of course had these type of requests from I think one particular team at a large bank who were on the team who would onboard new companies that were acquired. And then, of course, you have absolutely no idea what they might be using, but you do have your own standards and your own compliance that you need to adhere to. And congratulations, welcome to joining the team. You now need to be compliant. Let's go find out what you actually have and use, and what we can do to get you on that path.
So, yeah, that's a good use case. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Bryan, thanks for joining the program and giving the people a tour of the search capabilities that are available in the Open Rewrite recipe catalog.
Yeah, thanks for helping me along.
Yeah, anytime, buddy. All right. Well, I guess until next week, just an important reminder. Obviously, you should go sign up to attend the Code Remix Summit in Miami. That's coming up in May. It's gonna be a good one. I'm not sure if we've announced. I don't think we've announced all the speakers yet, but definitely some like approvals for talks are going out to people, and we're getting those finalized. And there's some good ones. There's some good ones in there. I don't want to spoil anything, but keep an eye out on the website as those speaker announcements go out. There's going to be some really good talks, some good tracks. Yeah, we've already got some on here. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a familiar face on there.
Yeah. Or two.
More than a few. So
yeah,
of course, Josh is coming back, and we have a couple more near the end. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. So
yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Just suspiciously absent, both you and I. So I'm not sure what we did wrong last year. But,
well, I mean, I don't know if you remember, we were a few drinks in, but we made such a scene that I don't know if they're going to allow us back in the hotel too. But maybe I'll just have to slap on a fake mustache, and you'll have to shave yours, and then we can fool him.
Should be fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
So yeah.
All right.
Hope to see all of you there. And with that,
hope to see all of you there, and hope to see all of you next week on our next Code Remix Weekly.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Tim, excellent idea, Kevin. Tim, just lend me your mustache, and then that'll fool him. All right. Until next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
y'all.